Hello, everyone. This is Edward Reyes coming into you from Russia. And today I'm going to talk about how I first found housing. And yeah, I'm gonna talk about that. And I do want to say this that uh, I do want to talk a bit about the Passport Bros movement. I don't know. I wouldn't call it a movement because again, it's been happening. Just people just right. It's now getting more attention. But that concept has been it's been in existence for a long time, right? And of course, I've been in Russia since 2017. So I am going to share my story with you guys, and the important thing about the passport concept, the passport bros concept, is that if you're looking for a woman, in particular, if you're looking for a woman to marry, and then going overseas is a very excellent idea. Okay, and that's kind of my purpose here to share my story. Now, I'm not married. I do have a fiance, and I'm very happy. Every day I wake up and I say to myself that it's going to be a great day. Whereas when I was in California, I was like, I remember just experiencing a lot of loneliness and the need to meet women, to meet the right woman, right? But along those lines, I also want to say this: that if you want to find the woman of your dreams, you also have to reflect upon yourself. You want to have goals. What do you want? What do you want to be? And I'll share this concept with you. The high value man. My suggestion is that you focus on being a high value man. Okay, that's important. And what is a high value man? It's usually a person that's in the top 20% of the top of the income bracket wherever he lives. Let's go with 3 to 5 years being in that situation, and where other people in the same income bracket or that same status, they see you as a peer. Okay, so it's different concepts. So I want you to be a high value man, and this is true in the United States. It's true in Russia. It's true in many parts of the world, right? And why is that important? Of course, because of the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. 80% of the females are looking for the top 20. And of course, you want to be closer, right, to the top 10. And that's going to make your life a lot easier, including your dating life. Okay. Not to say that that's the only way, but I'm saying maximize your chances, maximize your opportunity. Okay. So I'm going to talk about where I first lived in Russia. I lived in a small apartment in Siberia. I was paying like $320 per month, and it was not a fancy place. Later, I did move to a different area, and it was like the equivalent of Beverly Hills. It was a very nice area. And by that time, I was in the status of a high value man. Okay, so yeah, so I'm gonna share my housing story with you guys, and it started when I met Phil. Okay, how did I meet Phil? Phil was a person who was living. He's no longer in Russia, but he was here for many years. I think he spent a total of like 8, maybe even 9 years in Russia. And so I remember watching his YouTube videos, and I remember he made an offer. He's like, hey, if you guys want to move here to Russia or visit, hit me up. And he did charge a certain amount of money. And I saw that and I'm like, whoa, well, let me go ahead and make that investment. So I remember it was like $100, and I think Phil offered to answer like 7 questions, something like that, through WhatsApp. So I think I wrote to him, and he responded with, I think, with the voicemail message that was like less than 5 minutes. But he made $100 in less than 5 minutes, right? But I didn't look at it in the terms of the cost. I looked at it in the terms of the value. because I knew that he had a lot of knowledge. So it didn't matter to me. It didn't matter to me how much what the cost was, but that's another thing, you guys. If you're thinking about moving overseas, you do want to start studying people who already live there and kind of make an effort to interact with them if they're willing to do that, because that's very important. Okay, so so by the time I arrived in this area in Siberia, like Phil wasn't the first person that I called. I didn't, right? He was just a person that I knew of, but I didn't consider him a friend. He was more of an associate of a person that, right? Well, it just wasn't. He wasn't the first person that I called. In fact, I didn't have a first person that I called when I came to Siberia. And so, but eventually we did meet up, and he knew of a person that he had helped before, of an American, and this American had rented an apartment, and the person, I think he was here for a total of 3 weeks, and then the person just gave up. I think the person was like, well, I don't speak the language, it's kind of hard to date, to find a date here in Russia. In case you guys don't know, Russian girls, they're you do got to make an effort to meet them, right? It's not going to be like, oh, okay, like the first, well, I'll tell you more about that. But the point is that, yeah, you got to make an effort to meet them. It's not as easy as people think. Of course, there are exceptions, but for the most part, they're very conservative. Okay. So, but we could talk more about that later. Okay. So, so I was just looking for an apartment. Now I am an attorney now. When I came to Russia, I was not an attorney. I was not practicing law. I was teaching law, and I still have my business, my law teaching business, and yeah, that allowed me to make some type of income tutoring students online. Now this was 2017. This was before COVID. So the courts, I mean, it wasn't typical for an attorney to make a presence online. I mean, I wasn't even licensed back then. I was more interested in exploring the world and just kind of having freedom, right? Freedom to travel and not be chained to a desk in a certain city in the United States. So, yeah, so I didn't have too much money. Right, that's just the reality. You go somewhere else. You're not gonna look for a job. You go to a different country. I mean, you just don't have a work permit, right? So I lived in that apartment, and it was cozy. It was nice. So Phil did help me a lot in that regard in finding housing, and also other aspects of life in Russia. And yeah, he was definitely a high value man. So it was an honor to be his. Eventually, we became friends. So that was great. Now, another thing that I want to say is that you do want to have goals in life. You do want to write them down. Okay, because whatever your goals are, that's going to become a reality. If you don't have any goals, then you're just going to live and die, and that's it. But you're not really going to live the life that you want, because you may not even know what kind of life that is. So my suggestion is for you to have goals, and anything is achievable. So now I'm considered a high value man. Right now, I do practice law. I'm an immigration attorney from California. I'm licensed in California, but I serve clients throughout the United States. So, if you're considering, this is my ad, you guys. If you're considering the fiance, the K1 visa, send me a message. I'll have a link there at the bottom. But aside from that, I'm an advocate for people to have ambitious goals. Let's see, just in case I don't think I've mentioned. Yeah, I think I did mention that I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, which is a low income area. But not only did I grow up in South Central Los Angeles, I grew up in South Central LA when it was the crack epidemic. All right, you guys remember the crack epidemic in the 1980s? You guys remember Oliver? What was that guy's name? Oliver. I don't want to say Oliver North. Like it was like he was all over the news back then, and they had hearings and they had because they were trying to target Ronald Reagan, right? It was historical, but yeah, there was the whole Iran Contra scandal. I mean, it was a big deal, and the point was that the CIA was being accused of importing drugs into the United States, and the capital, the distribution center was South Central Los Angeles. And there's this person named Freeway Rick Ross, and well, there's various sources that make those allegations. That I don't want to get too much into politics because that's not what I want to do. But the point is that I have personal knowledge that area, that era, that the 80s in South Central Los Angeles, that was a very dangerous time for people. And there was a lot of violence. I mean, oh God, I mean, it wasn't normal. It's what I'm saying. Not even by today's standards. Like, if I know there's a lot of crime in the United States, but back then in that cluster of Los Angeles, of South Central Los Angeles, it was just imagine like zombies. Imagine like high crime rates. Imagine, I mean, you couldn't even ride a bicycle. I mean, it was that dangerous because there was people who they committed robberies against you. Okay, and even Rick Ross, like the middle school that I went to, it was Bret Hart, and even he said it in his book. He's like, that was known as the most dangerous middle school, and it probably in the country, right? But why do I say that? Why do I say that? It was because if I can make it to a status where I'm comfortable, and then so can you. And there's really no excuses. And again, that comes down to having ambitious goals and to not worry about what other people are gonna think, because again, they're not gonna pay your bills, right? So they can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, you have to know what it is that you want, which is very important. And also, don't give up. Like this person that I mentioned earlier that lived in Russia, and that I took over his apartment, right? I think he missed out. And maybe, I mean, there's certain, I can't say he was a quitter. I can't say that because I don't know what he was going through in his personal life, right? I don't know the circumstances. But if you're going to commit to something, you guys, and this is what I mean, you want to go through with it. Okay, so don't give up, because that's easy to do. Okay. Now, as far as housing, if you want to find a place in Russia, they have Avito. So just look that up, Avito. Okay, do a Google search, Avito in the city, and then they have apartments that are available. So see, I just saved you $100. So, all right, you don't need to contact Phil, even though Phil doesn't provide those services anymore. But again, if you want to go to a different city, start doing your research, start connecting with people who already live there, and know what you want. Write your goals down, and of course, more importantly, is don't quit. All right, don't quit. If I could do it, you can do it. All right. So with that said, thank you for watching, and we'll be in contact. Okay. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. All right. Have a great day.